Hello, friends. It's John Klein III with episode 190 of Shadow and Flame with Magic, your premier Kitty Pride, Lockheed, and Magic podcast. And today we're going to review Magic Volume 2, Issue 8, and discuss the rest of the comics that came out last week. So let's get into it. So Magic Volume 2, 8 came out. Amazing issue. Um, Opens up with Magic and Danny in Las Vegas as Danny's mysterious ancient society has sent them on a mission. We get an amazing page sequence where Magic uses her stepping disc to take a guy from a Ferris wheel to the ground in a very dramatic way that I loved. And then from there, Luminol is still with them in the body of Cal, and he's making very clear that Cal's gone and he's just in the body. And once gets released from the body, Cal's is dead. So we're concerned about that now. And then they go into the person they're supposed to confront's mansion, but it looks like or warehouse, and it looks like it's completely like demonified and like very colorful, which is pretty cool to see. But then Lumino casts a spell and pretty much makes it look like a warehouse again properly. And then we get a pretty cool sequence where Magic uses the shadows to keep popping in and out to capture more henchmen. And then they find the guy, and he is like he used to work for the society, but he escaped. And he uses the words like escape, like he's like, I wanted freedom from them, and now he's a loose end. And so now that's why the society sent Danny and Magic here to shut him down. And we get some fun sequences up to that part where Magic really wants to make peace with Danny, and Danny's like more than willing to forgive and forget and apologizes as well. They get a great hug together, and we just, they're just great to see them on sync. Lumino asks a question at one point, they both say no, and then right before they confront the goon, like they're back on the same page, as saying like in sync again, and so they share a word bubble again, and so it's like, oh, like I love Daniana, and hope the next 5 issues, or I don't know, this is issue 8, so we know she's getting at least a 10th issue before Age of Revelations. So yeah, so this is what we're like. This is clearly the final storyline before the event. And we know Magic's going to be in Amazing X-Men Volume 3. Danny will be in X Avengers, as well as getting a backup feature in the War of Revelation series. So, like they're accounted for at least. So that's nice. And I have a suspicion Kitty's the Spirit of Philadelphia that's in the Book of Revelation series, but time will tell on that. Um, and then what else came out? Oh, Giant Size X-Men 2, which got delayed, and I think got delayed because of the backup feature handles Destiny and Mystique as Destiny predicts the Age of Revelations coming, which is smart to be like, hey, Destiny isn't play. We should be showing off like someone should be aware Age of Revelations being happening. And Giant Size X-Men 2, Miss Marvel and Legion are in the present day. For Bruno, it's been literally like seconds or minutes. And then we get a great splash page of Miss Marvel and the X-Men. So it's Rogue representing Uncanny, the Louisiana X-Men. Cyclops representing the Alaskan X-Men. Kitty Pryde representing the Illinois X-Men, though they've never referred to themselves as that. And Wolverine Logan, because he has a solo title, but it's pretty much like each representative from each like corner of the X verse is happening. Oh, and Jean Grey's there, which I'm surprised Emma wasn't just included as well. Like, but I'm happy that because it's a Miss Marvel series, we got Kitty represented because they ever since the House of M, Giant Size, and then their time together in X-Men Volume 6, the ending of that. Kitty and Miss Marvel have a connection to the point where I'm a huge Miss Marvel fan now and have a whole wish list of like books I want to get to um get more Miss Marvel in my life. And she had a great partnership with Magic in the Secret Warriors Volume 2 that I got many of those issues on my wish list. So, eventually start chipping away at these books. Which I think my League of Comic Book Geeks like wish list is like 400 books, which is ridiculous. But I own a lot of issues, and I don't know there is a part of me that's just like I think I'm ready to just make it purely a Kitty and Lockheed collection, as Magic's just way too popular now. And when I added her, like there's definitely issues that she's been in that I just added to the wish list, but like unlike Uncanny X-Men Volume 616 that had Kitty and Magic. I was like, well, I want to stay current on Kitty. And then, of course, the Lockheed shows up. That's an instant purchase on eBay or DCBS if I can find the issue. But yeah, they confront Legion, or Legion's husk of a body that all the powers are controlling. And then, because they're in the present day, David Haller is able to show up and he just merges with them, which is weird that that just means his body in the future went back in time to merge with his mind. And so it's like, well, I guess that corrects the timeline, but also like what's going to happen in the future, right? When that happens again, it's just a time loop, I guess. Um, and then the issue ends nicely with Rogue. Like Kitty's like, "Well, I'm off back to Chicago," and Rogue's like, "Hey, you want to get a coffee?" Which I love the. It's been a very slight subplot from Uncanny X-Men on Volume 6-1 where Kitty wasn't wanting Rogue to call her anymore, and then what was it? Exception X-Men 5. Bobby's on the phone with Rogue, and Kitty grabs the phone, and then hangs up immediately on Rogue, and then oh yeah, and then clearly in issue 15 on Canny, Kitty and Rogue are talking on the phone, and now you see them working together. So it's like, hey, like it's working. They're doing it. I love it for them. And and so they're gonna get coffee, and then in the very next panel we see Magic show up to pick up Scott, and it's like, come on, like we're so close to getting Katyana, and like what are we doing? Like is it building up to something? Like, hey, we're getting the fans so enticed that we want or incensed that we want them to be desperately begging for a title, and because who knows what post Age of Revelation is going to be. The nice thing is that clearly it takes place X years in the future. Present day Scott's going to go there, learn a lesson, go in the back, make sure he's never in a room with Doug, and then you just pick up where you left off pretty much. And I think the current rumor is that it's definitely a series that's going to stay past November, and then I imagine December, and then January, just new year, new X. It's how I think it would play out, but who knows? But you think the new year would be a good time to be like, here's a new relaunch, and you just do all the press. Um, but yeah, so hopefully we just see how that's going. I was having a straight thought about another Kitty Pride reference, but I can't think of what I was connecting it to. And then we have X-Men Volume 720, which I love about how it feels like this series is getting back on track too. We get all the relationships. Idole and Psylocke are talking about the men in their lives, and just like neither of them feel comfortable calling their boyfriends boyfriends, but because Idole and Ransom might be becoming a relationship, and then Psylocke and Grey Crow, John Quan as we like to call him, and then we see Beast fumbling the ball with Jen as he's reeling his head about the 3K invite. And she keeps trying to be like, oh yeah, like I recognize that concern, and then tries to get a little closer, but he's just still stuck on like the woe is me. And after the fourth attempt, she's like, all right, I'm sort of done with this because they did have a date on in Hellfire Vigil, and which I like how it's supposed to be a big series, so we should be constantly referencing it, or at least reference it once post event. So it's nice to see that's being recognized. And then we have Ultimate Spider-Man Incursion 3. And so it's interesting to see Peach Mobico's X-Men being used by anyone else and drawn by someone else as Miles and Mayforce? Mayweather? Maystorm. I think it's Maystorm from the X-Men. I don't know, like because they're not using hero names, it's so hard for me to connect to old dad brain. But Maystorm, yeah, that's right, because she's inspired by Wakandan freedom fighter Storm. And so they're trying to get Billy, Miles' sister, and then of course Magic shows up, grabs her, Billy that is, and then takes her away. And so Volume 4 or Issue 4 that we know was going to be the big Miles versus Magic um, subplot, or she's on the cover, excuse me. And so like I got 4 issue ordered, which I should have just ordered issue 3 because I had the suspicion that was going to be the thing, but I really don't want to buy anything from DCBS that I want to like give to Walker D or try to sell back and be like, well, I didn't want this. Speaking of which, I'm trying to desperately get a cover, the daughter Russell Dauterman cover of Magic 8 that I should have just bought for $35 on CBS, but the summer's always tight for us. And so I was like, I can't just only get one comic that week. And so but unfortunately it's going for like 50 to $60. And some of these bids are like the bids I've lost are currently at $100. It's like, what are you people doing? Like, that's too much. So I don't know. It's probably never to be. But if Russell Dauterman ever does the Kitty Pride cover, like I'm just going to have to like suck it up and only get that cover and like 2 other essential issues that month because I do not want to miss out on a Russell Dauterman Kitty Pride cover. Like, you know. And it's a real shame that it's a 1 in 25 variant because I got the Dauterman Cyclops cover because my letter was printed in that issue. And so I was like, well, I just want that issue. And I was like, well, that one's the cheapest one. I got it for like, including shipping, like $12. Which is one of the reasons why I really went with the DCBS because it was just cute. Like I was losing so much money on shipping, where I was like, well, if I just buy the bulk of comics ahead of time, shipping should balance out. So I don't know, but now this anxiety and anxiousness. So it's just like I can't believe I'm missing out on this Magic cover. Like if I had it and I got the kitty one, I can then put it in a frame or something. But we'll just figure it out. But it's just a shame that it was a 1 in 25. Like, why? But now I've been burned, so now I'm lesson learned about DCBS because I was able to get that Ultimate Sprite Ultimate Wolverine cover a while ago that they wanted $35 for. And I was like, that's ridiculous for that cover. And then I literally got it for like cover price on eBay. But now that I know that's not always the case, like one successful story, one failure story, lesson learned, just if it's a cover I really want, just try to make it happen, I guess. Um, so yeah, Ultimate Spider-Man Incursion 3, which I guess I've been having a lot of magic thoughts lately about my collection and so I got 4 and I added Incursion 3 to my wish list and she was in issue 1. And then I really want Ultimate Invasion 2 because that's the first appearance of Magic or this Ultimate Magic. And so, but it's like, oh yeah, like I got all these wish list items, and it's just like, well, what's my priorities? And I don't know. I think I want my priority to really be because on my wish list, I have on my and you can follow me on DCBS with Jacko SII as I am on most socials. And I just like if I got all the because they break all the characters down, right? So Kitty Pride has a Kitty Pride, she has a Shadow Cat, she has a Kate Pride, um, and she has a fourth one where like if we combine all these, she'd be my number one character. But unfortunately, I don't pay for League of Comic Book Geeks premium service. But I've always been tempted to because I love to have her number one. But even if I got all the Shadow Cat ones, she's at number 6, and Cyclops is number 5. and that doesn't give me enough space. I can pull this up on my phone real fast because I love this app. And so if I go to collections, comics, stats, I'm currently at 2,509 Marvel comics, so that's fun. Yeah, so Wolverine's number one character. Shadowcat is number six, right behind Cyclops, and Cyclops is 705, and Shadowcat 664, maddening. And then Magic's 397 to Iceman, oh, at number 12, and then Iceman's 426. So even if I got a bunch of Magic comics, it would take like 30 comics to catch up to her. And usually I can only buy like, if I use my comic shop's eBay account, I can get like four books, including shipping for like $20. So I want to chip away at that. And it's on my mind a lot lately because I want to get some. I'm trying to decide which Spider-Man event I want to do for the Spider-Man movie, Brand New Day. And so I'm either going to do Dark Web, which would be a lot bigger event, or I could do the Eight Deaths, which would be like a five-issue event. So on paper, Eight Deaths makes the most sense, but I would love to get more Krakoa era comics. So Dark Web would be the way to go. And I buy either of those way we'll get more magic appearances. And then Lockheed's at 14 with 335 behind Magic or Magneto's 360. So it'll take so many Lockheed appearances to catch up to Magneto. And then there's just Catherine Pride at 16 at 300, right behind Cannonball at 330. And so that's where I'm like, well, it would take 30 appearances to get. So it's just like, no matter how many comics I get, there none of them are gonna pass the person they're ahead of. There's a proper word to say that. Precede them. And so I'm just like, well, then I should just buy the comics I want to buy. And then I do have a wish list of like Fantastic Four comics I want to buy inspired by the movie. And so I want to do that. And I'm just trying to scroll down to see what the third Kitty Pride was, but because it's Shadowcat and Catherine Pride, and you combine those, she'd be at number one, but it's just maddening. And yeah, so top six. Wolverine at number one at 919 appearances, Storm 2 at 824, so that gap alone. Nightcrawler at three, Colossus at four, irritating. Cyclops at five, irritating. Then Beast, Professor X, Rogue, Emma Frost, Iceman, Magic, Magneto, Lockheed. Which has a top 14, not bad. Cannonball, Catherine Pride, Psylocke, Elizabeth Braddock version. Angel, Gambit, and Sunspot. So that's just my New Mutants Magic love. But yeah, and then if you follow me on League of Comic Book Geeks, I'll follow you right back. So, as I like to look at other people's collections. Uh, so that got us down that. And so, oh yeah, and then finally, Laura Kinney, Wolverine 9. Gabby was on a mission with Zados, Dracula's son, who's sometimes a good guy, sometimes a bad guy. He was the bad guy in Exterminators, Volume 2, but got his just desserts there. And so they confront someone who's a bad vampire, but then they put this goo and this virus inside poor Laura Gabby's body, which causes her face to melt. And so she finds Laura. Laura agrees to have Xanos come into her apartment, and which would be a fun gag that pays off later. Where Gabby and Jonathan, the most real of the Wolverines, and Laura apologizes to Jonathan that they're going on yet another mission where he's not allowed to, even though he wasn't allowed on the Gabby mission and she got wrecked. And so they go to find Clea because Doctor Strange is stuck in Asgard, and I guess they're not going to go to Doctor Doom for help. And Gabby has a very nice moment where she goes, "Oh wow!" And Clea's like, "Yeah, it's an impressive house, the Sorcerer the Sacred Synchrum." That's not what you call Doctor Strange's house. The Sorcerer Sanctum? Ugh, how many times have I seen it in a video game and not losing the time of it now? Anyways, Doctor Strange's house, which is now Clea's house, I suppose. But Gabby's like, no, 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 you're very pretty. And Clea's like, well, compliments is not necessary, but thank you. And it's like, oh, Clea, you are very pretty. And good on Gabby for being like, they need some help. And so, yeah, maybe some flattery does help. Clea brings the virus out, which then brings all the vampires into her house. Xanos was not allowed into it because he's the son of Dracula, and Clea has sense. No offense to Laura. And so that's where the issue ends, where they're going to, um, you know, confront what's going on before she becomes Laura Kinney Sabretooth for Age of Revelation. So yeah, and that's issue 9. So yeah, issue 10, which now that we know, because they haven't been keeping it hidden, but I guess all creative teams are always given 5 issues at a time, and so that's what. And of course, Age of Revelation. So they've known for a while, like they're going to stop at 10. So unless you were going to continue, which ideally X-Men, Uncanny, and Exceptional will continue. But also, new number one sell all the time, so we could just be in a brand new era of X afterwards. And then next week we have another. Oh yeah, so no retro comic this week because I was like 5 comics is enough. And then when I do the promotion on Twitter and Blue Sky, you can already do 4 images, so I'm already knocking off a comic. So I was like, well, might as well just do 5 and then keep retro issues for when there's less than 4 books. And because I think it's not looking like a longer episode, right? No, Zoom's not giving me that information. All right. And on the computer, I Googled like how big of a file is Marvel Rivals, and it said it was 70 gigabytes. So then I was like, well, let me try to download it. And then it really shut the computer down. So I'm like, well, let me do the podcast first, I suppose. But I did a software update. I haven't clicked on the Rivals thing to see if I could download it, but I did register, so at least I got my screen name. So thank you, no one, for taking that from me. I would have been pretty sad. And yeah, so even if I'm no good at it, at least maybe I'm good enough to gain XP. I don't know how my Marvel Rivals works. But if we ever get lucky enough to get a PS5, ideally I can then just sync the 2 accounts and then, continue forth. But next week's comics are some good ones, which I didn't rank them. So I know one, two, potential. Okay, here we go. 5 comics. So it'll be Exceptional X-Men 12, where Kitty Pryde's back in time, and Emma and Iceman are hanging out with the teens. Psylocke 10, where Psylocke is now white Psylocke, which is awkward, but only in that she's instead of all purple, she's in all white with white hair, so sure. And then we have potential Marvel all in no, I'm sorry, Marvel all on one, which is essentially Thing versus Marvel universe. Which seems late for like you think about it came out closer to the Fantastic Four movie, but sure. Um, and it's supposed to apparently be all told in splash pages, and when it's not a splash page, it's a double page feature. So, so maybe Kitty Pryde, maybe Magic. We'll see how that works out. And then Godzilla Destroys the Marvel Universe 2, which 1 didn't have any X-Men in it, so maybe 2 will. I don't know. Three's marketed as the X-Men issue, so maybe the final page will show which X-Men are confronting them. And then lastly, Wolverine Volume 8, Issue 12, which I know he's on the run with his mother, Mrs. Howlett. So potentially we can only be doing Exceptional X-Men 12 and Psylocke 10 because the other ones are iffy. And then we'll do a retro review then. So that, everyone, was episode 190 of Shadow and Flame of Magic. Thank you so much for watching or listening. This will go up on YouTube. And you can follow me on socials at Jacko SII on Instagram, Blue Sky, um, and Twitter. Oh, and TikTok. And it did feel weird Saturday morning not uploading a TikTok video. Even though every time I open up the app, they're always like, "Hey, if you open the app, you should post if you want more views." I'm like, "Oh, I should be able to make some type of pick three images and make a quick 15-minute song." But I don't know. It's an idea rattling in my head. As I would love to get more people on there, as I'm so close to. No, no, no. On YouTube, I'm close to 600 subscribers. Um, for whatever reason, like every couple weeks I lose two, and then a couple weeks later I earn those two back. So I don't know what's happening there, YouTube. And I think I just passed 500 on TikTok. So I feel like we're making some progress, but definitely need to find a way to get, this podcast out there to more people. Um, but yeah, but I'm proud of these latest episodes. Thank you so much for the support, and I will talk at you next time. All right, everyone. Bye.